What's crack-a-lackin'? Alright, so we're going to be getting into our very, or at least last 4K army discussion, or 40K army discussion, until I get another type of video out, because I don't want to just flood my videos with 40K, 2K point army discussions. I wanted to get the three main ones out of there, that being my Orcs list, my Chaos Knights list, and now my Chaos Daemons list. Very excited for this one. And I can honestly just gonna get right in there. So frankly, actually, I'm gonna need to go over the actual army rule. Before I start going into that, just kind of refresh my own memory. I'm not gonna lie. So Chaos Daemons. I know that their entire thing is the Shadow of Chaos. That starts in your deployment zone, and then kind of moves over the rest of the battlefield. Kind of dependent on how well you're doing. It's a rule that doesn't really like. It's weird to say. It doesn't like push your army forward. It's just like if you're already doing well, then it like helps you snowball that by increasing your Shadow of Chaos, which gives you healing and then giving them -1 to their battle shock test. And then you can also do mortal wounds to them if they fail their battle shock test by being in your Shadow of Chaos. They have the Demonic Pact, which is not something I'll get into. Their incursion rules, where with their warp rifts, is each time one of them set up with a deep strike ability, they can actually be set up within 6 inches instead of 9 inches, which is pretty solid actually, for considering that like the entire army has deep strike because they're coming from the warp. They're coming from this this nothingness of but everything at the same time, like world that they can just kind of teleport and traverse from. So they're coming in from all over the place. So we'll get right into it. I think we'll start with the smaller ones first. You'll kind of get it right off the bat what my goal for this army is. We're starting with Epidemius. Now, Epidemius is a model that I kind of slept on at first when I was going over all of the Daemon list, but I actually think he's pretty solid. A lot of these models are gonna have like 6-up saves and stuff like that because typically they're demons. They don't have like armor a lot. They're kind of just, they run at you and they fight you, so they don't have a lot of range either. He does have a 5-up invuln save flat, 5-inch movement, and 5 toughness, which is a little higher than a lot of other things, but he has a character. But so he has 8 wounds as well, which is actually pretty good. His melee, he has his Bale Sword and Nurgling Attendants, which has lethal hits, which you'll see for a lot of the models will have lethal hits. D6 plus 3 attacks, -2 AP, 2 damage. Actually not bad hitting on 3-ups, especially with the lethal hits and -2 AP. But what I mainly am running him for is his ability. It's like he does give a model he's leading, he gives him a 4-up invuln, which is always good. You'll always take that. But the Tally of Pestilence is actually one of the main reasons I'm going to be running this model, where every single time one of your Nurgle Legions Demonica models destroys another model, you gain a tally. And at the start of your command phase, if your tally is 7 or more, aka you've killed 7 or more models, you gain 1 CP, and then the tally resets. Depending on who you're fighting, that's not a hard thing to reach. 7 models is not a hard thing to reach, depending on, obviously, if you're fighting knights, Imperial Knights, you're probably never going to hit that tally because they're going to run like 4 models. But against a lot of armies, you'll probably be able to actually get that built up to 7, at least gain a few CP over the course of the game. He can only lead Plague Bearers, but that tally is really what I'm running Epidemius for. So very solid guy right there. Next character on the list is actually going to be Porticulus Slimix, or Slimix, however you want to say it. Another great model. He's riding on a big snail. I love it. He's got some, this tree coming out the back. This little gremlin guy who the snail wants, so he's moving forward. Great model, very much. I'm a big fan of this model. He actually has a 3-up save and 10 toughness, so this guy's real tough. 6-inch movement with 10 wounds is very good. A 4-up invuln, and his melee, he's got the Lopping Shears, which is 4 attacks, 3 ups, -2 AP, 3 damage, again with lethal hits. so you'll be getting those auto wounds on 6s on the hit roll. And then he also has the Acidic Maw, which has extra attack, so it'll always go up, and it has devastating wounds. So a possibility of 3 mortal wounds going through on 6s for that wound roll. And even if they don't mortal wound, -4 AP, still going to punch a lot of armors, forcing units to do invulnerable saves. So this guy's got a lot of interesting stuff, but also his leader ability, because he can lead Beast of Nurgle. He can reroll charge rolls for that unit. Also, he can you can target him for a heroic intervention stratagem for 0 CP, even if I've already used, or you, the player, has already used that stratagem on a different unit. So he's able to hop in there and help some stuff out. Plus, with with that actually pretty decent melee profile you can get in there. And then he also has Seed the Garden of Nurgle, where at the start of your movement phase, if he's within the if he's within an area terrain feature till the end of the battle, that is considered to be within the Army Shadow of Chaos, the army rule that gives you some benefits and whatnot to battle shock, and then negatively affects some of the other models or on the enemy side of things. Not quite as crazy, but I mean, you could definitely see it depending on the scenario and what it is. Again, haven't actually played with the Chaos Daemons yet, so it'll be hard for me to say how good that Shadow of Chaos really will be, or how often you'll see that come up. So next model on my list is actually going to be very normal guy. It is going to be the Poxbringer. Now, the Poxbringer is a really solid model, but he's, a cheap 75 points. He's got 5 wounds, 5 toughness, with a 7-up save, so he doesn't get a save, but, it's whatever. He has a 5-up invuln, though, so, 7-up save, lol. His melee weapon, he has a Foul Bale Sword, which has lethal hits, yet again, because we love lethal hits out here. All the Nurglings bring their lethal hits. And then his ability as a leader is he actually gives his unit 5-up critical hits, which means you'll be scoring those lethal hits on 5s instead of 6s, which you gotta love, because everything has lethal hits. And he's gonna be leading a squad of Poxbringers, or Plague Bearers, not Poxbringers. That's a Death Guard thing. Plague Bearers. And yeah, I mean, you'll see there's more lethal hits. And then he has the Feculent Despair aura, where he actually gives them -1 to their battle shock test just by being within 6 inches of him, because he's just that nasty, and he's psychic and makes them less likely to pass battle shock. So a solid unit, only 75 points. Managed to slip him right in there. The next model we're going to be talking about is one of my favorite ones in terms of the HQ choices. It is the Sloppity Bile Piper. Love this model. 55 points, so real cheap. 5 wounds, 5 toughness, 7-up save with a 5-up invuln. His melee, he's got the Marauder with, you guessed it, lethal hits, which are going to be pretty good for this guy because he doesn't actually have AP on his weapons. So getting those lethal hits can actually help him punch a bit of damage through. But his abilities are pretty solid, where you can actually add 1 to the movement, and you can reroll advance rolls for the unit just all the time, which is really solid when he's leading a squad of Plague Bearers to help them get across the board faster, help them advance faster, and get in there. And then he has the Disease of Mirth, which is an aura that forces units within 6 inches of him, especially if they just charge in, like they just charge in the melee, for example, to take a battle shock test. So you can deny them using stratagems and deny them objective control, so you can cap objectives if you're fighting over objectives and whatnot. Very solid. He's a funny guy. I just love the model. He's just so goofy, and I'm really excited to run him. Now we got one more before we get to the big juicy boys. We got the Spoilpox Scrivener. Now this guy, I think, is probably. No, actually, I can't tell you what I'm not super crazy on him. I do like the list. The model is really sick with the long scroll and stuff. Big fan of that. Gonna be really fun to build this guy. Pretty similar stat line with a 5-up invuln. He does actually have a ranged attack where he sneezes on people and is considered a pistol, so he can do it in melee as well. It auto hits, only 3 strength, 0 AP, 1 damage. but he does actually have a range attack, so that's something. And then he also has a Plague Sword and Distended Maw, so it has 6 attacks and lethal hits. So you'll be able to get some auto wounds. Even then, it has 5 strength and -1 AP, which is pretty solid. His ability is he gives models not only auto hits, auto wounds on 6s, he also gives them exploding 6s. So you can get, even though they're auto wounding and going away, you can actually keep adding more dice with those auto wounds, which is actually pretty good. Also, the quota ability of giving every plague bearer that he's leading a +1 to their OC, which I think that sounds really strong to me. I can't, I won't be able to tell you until I actually play and kind of experiment with them a bit, but that sounds pretty good. So that's it for the little guys, the little characters. Now we're gonna go to the first big boy, and that's gonna be the Great Unclean One. Oh yeah. So let me see, just kind of make sure because I know he's got some war gear. Blade, no Doomsday Bell. There we go. This is the guy. So the Great Unclean One. First off, one of my favorite models in Warhammer. Period. Love this model. Super sick. The horns, the giant sword, just the rotting flesh. He's just huge and nasty, and his guts are spilling out. It's great. He's got 12 toughness with 20 wounds and a 5-up save, but he does have a 4-up invuln, 5 objective control with a 7-inch movement. He ain't a slouch. He got that 7-inch movement. He also does have his Putrid Vomit. I wouldn't be running the Plague Flail. Not a horrible option. Got that 6 inches of range, but the Putrid Vomit has the Ignores cover and auto hits. 5 strength, -2 AP, 1 damage. So pretty solid. Pretty solid for sure. Now I'm confused. Automatically, it has Torrent, but it also has a ballistic skill value. Normally it just says NA if it has Torrent, which is kind of interesting. Ignore that. Melee weapons, we have, mine would be equipped with the Bile Sword. Again, I'm a big fan of the split profiles that give you the option of like the strike and sweep profiles. Hitting on 2-ups for both of them. The strike has 8 strength, -2 AP, D6 damage, and then the Bile Sword has basically a similar. He has 12 dice, so double the dice, -2 strength, -1 AP, and 1 damage a hit. But they both have lethal hits, so you're gonna get auto wounds, just lethal hits all over the board with these guys. And he has the Bile Blade, which has that extra attacks, which also has lethal hits, 2 damage, -2 HP, 6 strength. Very solid weapon for sure. Excited to run this guy. He's got some nasty abilities. He's got the Daemon Lord of Nurgle, where he gives models within 6 inches of him a 6-up Feel No Pain. And then also he subtracts 1 from toughness characteristics of one enemy unit that he ends his movement within 12 inches of him. He uses his psychic powers, which makes them less tough, which could be really good, especially since like his strike profile or his sweep profile getting some different you could do like a lowering the toughness, the 6 strength, like you could lower their toughness from 4 to 3, which would actually give like your sweep profile wounding on 2s, which would be pretty solid. Now time to go to like my actual, I said one of my favorite models within all of Warhammer. Time to go to my probably what is my actual favorite model within all of Warhammer 40k, and that is my Warlord Rodigus. I love this model. I am so excited to build him. I mean, just look at him. He is a psychic Nurgle monster with mouths coming out of his arms and stomach, and he's just got maggots coming out of his mouth, and he's just an absolute just a sight to behold. 12 toughness, 22 wounds. He is an abhorrent model. He's an abhorrent Chaos Knight. He's got a 4-up invuln. He's got some brackish filth, which has Torrent and devastating wounds, 7 strength, -2 AP, ignores cover. Very solid weapon, range weapon for daemons. They're not really exactly great at range. He's got the Gnarl Rod, which once again has that beautiful, crisp split profile I love so much. The strike profile, having lethal hits, 8 strength, -3 AP, 3 damage, and the Gnarl Rod having 14 dice, 7 strength, -1 AP, 1 damage with lethal hits as well. I love to see it. Just a great model. This guy, just what a spectacle it's going to be to table this thing. His abilities, he's got some psychic stuff going on. You can select one of your own. You can select an enemy within 18 inches invisible to him, and until the end, anytime a Nurgle Legion Demonica model attacks them, they actually get +1 of their damage, which is good with those lethal hits. So you'll be able to get some boosted damage, and so you get +1 of damage on all your Nurgle models on that unit, which is very solid. And then the Deluge of Nurgle, where you actually have the movement and OC control of everything within 6 inches of him, because he's just so nasty that that he just spreads that Nurgly aura, and then they crumple. So yeah, this is my Warlord, and he is just an absolute unit. So excited to run Rodigus, the Great Unclean One. It'd be so fun. If you haven't been able to tell yet, I guess I'll just say it. This is a Nurgle list, kind of using all of the or as many as the characters and all the Nurgle models I could kind of scrounge together into a list. Out of the 4 Chaos Gods, Nurgle has always been the one that's interested me the most. The pestilence, the disease, the plague ridden, all the models being like decaying and stuff. Huge fan of. Should be interesting to paint for sure. Can't wait to paint a Rodius and a Great Unclean One. Those are gonna be so fun to paint. And then for battle line, now this will be epic. I have 5 squads of Plague Bearers. Wow. I think I haven't done a ton, because they do have some the Instrument of Chaos and the Demonic Icon. Not going to mess with that right here. We're just going to look at the data sheet. Haven't decided which ones I want to have what yet. So look at this little guy. These are the infantry that you're going to be running typically, or just all the time, most of the time for Nurgle, unless you have some Nurglings or something to get up the board and get objective stuff. I don't have any personally in this list, but yeah. So these guys have a 5-up invuln. They got their Plague Swords, which is 2 attacks each. They got lethal hits. Again, there's the lethal hits. They came back, and then with the Poxbringer leading them, you get those 5-up critical hits. So you get those 5-up lethal hits. Their abilities, they actually have sticky objectives, because their infected outbreak ability that lets you sticky objective some of those objectives. Typically going to just be like, these are just the guys who are defending the characters. They got 5 toughness, real solid with a 2 objective control. With a Sloppity Bile Piper, you're gonna I'm pretty sure that's the one, right? That increases the OC? No. Who is it? Is it Scrivener? The Scrivener? Scrivener, yeah. So with a Spoilpox Scrivener, you're going to have 3 OC on each one of those models. Very solid for sure. Now we're going to go to other data sheets where we have only a few more. That ain't right. We have a Beast of Nurgle. We're going to have 2 of these guys. Oh yeah. I guess I need to do. Okay. So we got 2 Beast of 1 squad of 2 Beast of Nurgle for Slimix to lead. These guys have a 6-up save with a 5-up invul, 9 toughness and 7 wounds, and a very nasty ability where basically it's like, if you just don't kill them, they just heal to full every time. You have to kill them or they'll just heal, which is really scary, especially since they have that devastating wounds profile on their melee. So they can definitely get in there, and with Slimix leading them, they have those rerolls to their charge rolls, which can really can get them in. They do have a pretty scary melee profile, and they're just really bulky. Probably going to be hard to break through, so that should be real fun to run. And then we have the last model, or last squad. We have some plague drones. Little plague bearers riding on these big maggot fly things. They got some range with their death's heads with lethal hits. Always going to be solid with that. They got their plague sword, which again has lethal hits, and then they also have the foul mouth parts, which also has lethal hits and extra attacks. Pretty solid profiles, hitting on 3-ups for the plague sword and 4-ups for the mouth parts. Solid abilities where you can actually reroll the rune roll if your Death's Head's ability has hit an enemy unit, then whenever a Legions Demonica or Nurgle Legions Demonica makes an attack, they can actually reroll the wound roll. Not super. I mean, you're gonna, if you can get that lethal hit off and then maybe get one of those attacks through to get that ability, that could be really solid. But they kind of just brought up. That kind of brings up the rear of those guys. I also do have one enhancement to hand out, and it is to the Great Unclean One with the Endless Gift, giving him a 5-up Feel No Pain. And then if he's within the Shadow of Chaos, he actually gets a 4-up Feel No Pain. So just trying to make this guy, while he's in there smacking things up in melee, as durable as possible. And yeah, that's the list. I hope y'all enjoyed me kind of talking about this and running down the army. Let me know which one of your gods is your favorite of the 4 chaos gods. Obviously, I've already said it. Nurgle is my favorite. This list is going to be really fun to build and paint. I hope. Rodigus and the Great Unclean One are just some of the coolest models that I can't wait to use. And yeah, let me know what y'all think, what you would run differently, what you would bring, what you wouldn't bring, and yeah, we'll discuss that. Next, I don't exactly know what my next video is going to be. Might take a few days to kind of think about what video I'm gonna come out with next. Should have a building video going up within probably about a week or so, give or take. So that should be pretty exciting. And then once I've built all of those orcs up, then I'll do a painting video where I'll paint up my my orcs, and then I'll have I'll make a battle report video where I play my 2K point army for the very first time, and that should be very exciting. And I look forward to that, and I look forward to recording that, and that should be really fun. So, yep. Thank you all for watching, and I guess I'll see you in whatever the next video comes.